Hello and welcome. And I know what I said. If you watched for the past 2 days or the past two readings, I was going to do a talking video and just get out a bunch of messages, but I had some kind of epiphany around being able to roll those into the deep dives that I'm putting on my website because there's just a lot of screenshots involved and I don't want to do that. And it's going to incentivize me to finish up that project as it stands now. So I am in the mood just to pull some cards though, and I think it's going to be a good reading, and I'm just going to talk a little bit first about it because I think that we just went through a wormhole of some kind energetically, and I think we're coming out on the other side of it. I think it was like a week long, and I think it was early last week or this week that's ending. What day is it? Sunday? Yeah, it was at the beginning of this past week, and I was saying I was in bed for 2 days. There was nothing wrong with it. I needed my rest. This is all true, but I wasn't ready to talk about something that happened because it truly horrified me to my core, and it felt oddly symbolic. It felt like some gross fairy tale or some strange thing over the course of those 2 days. So I was resting and I was at home and everything in my comfort, but it was like one of those restful afternoons, and I was peeing on my toilet as one does, and my eyes were kind of just like softly spaced out, just taken in the scenery, and it was my shower wall where it meets the shower floor. My eyes were just ambiently resting, and as I looked at it, it was moving, and I was like, okay, well, what am I looking at? Because I have supposed to wear glasses, to be honest. If I'm not wearing my glasses, then my vision's a little blurry. I just live like that because I can drive and read and do everything, but I couldn't quite see, so I was just like, what am I looking at? And I realized that instead of like thinking it was like water like slowly dripping down creating movement, it was a cluster of black tiny worms black small worms that looked like leeches crawling out of the corner of my shower because the grout had receded, and there was this like crack. It was like this little hole behind where I don't clean, and if I do, it doesn't really reach back there. And I freaked out. Like, that's not, I don't know about that. I don't want to deal with this. I wish that it was fake. I was like, I cannot reconcile with this as being part of my existence right now. And so I panicked a little bit and I drowned them all in dish soap. I don't always have the best responses to things like this, but honestly, I mean, I'll tell you, I would prefer mice. I know I had them last year because they chewed through the back of my refrigerator and made it rain in my neighbor's apartment downstairs. I didn't realize. But something about anything like just small larvae, pupae, worms, it brings me back to, I was not allowed as a child to watch the show Fear Factor growing up, but I definitely got some viewings in at my friends' houses, and it horrified me. Like when you have to go into a tiny box filled with like the creepy crawlies. I think I could probably do pretty well with like I'd be down to hold a tarantula, fine, but like the density, just the sheer amount of any small thing, even like snakes, that's okay with me. And the bigger the better with the snake, that's okay. I respect them. But I covered them all in dish soap, which just made it even more horrendous and horrifying. It was like dawn. It was like bright orange, and they were all like in it, like writhing. And I was like, what have I done? And so I like got it all sudsy, and there was so much dish soap, so there was a lot of suds. So I just spent like an hour absolutely cleaning the entire thing and trying to figure out, why this had happened. And I figured out that, it's called a drain fly, and I had some gnats. My shower ceiling is like 9 feet tall, so honestly, I can't really do anything about them, but just like little tiny bugs flying around the light bulb up there, and then they'd like kind of die and get stuck to the, it's not like it's filthy and teeming with flies, it was like one or two, but I guess they laid some eggs, which hatched. So I do that, and then I go back to it a few hours later. I was like, okay, that was a nightmare, and I did not like that. Hopefully I fixed my problem, it's sanitized. They got killed off. I even left some substance sitting there to like saturate, right? And then I flushed it later, kind of washed it all out. And I go back after another sequence of naps, and there was even more crawling up out of the thing, like little leeches, and they had figured out how to go higher and farther. Like they were almost like coming out of the side of the shower. And I had another meltdown. I was like, I can't do this. And I kind of repeated the motions, but I refined my process because I was like more equipped to handle it this time. And eventually had some people come and like regrout it basically because there's no way for them. Like it's just some gross thing that happened. And when something like that happens, it's like that's where you're in your vulnerability. Like that's where I'm naked most often probably. And I was like wearing my Crocs in the shower. I was like, I cannot safe here. And I still have a little bit of PTSD. I like can't like looking out for these freaking worms, because if there's anything in like my periphery on the floor or like anywhere, it's like it's got to be a worm at this point. And that was hard for me. And then when the guys were coming to fix it, the dog had gotten hurt and he was bleeding all over everything. And I already said this in a different video, but it was just a mess because it had only been a couple days and my family, a couple people checked in with me like, what's new? How are you doing? And I was like, oh, just worms and blood and I'm bedridden because I had the migraine. But that's what happens. The migraines are stress induced. So then I was like, this kind of does make sense. I feel like I had a weird little blip there. But there's some other stuff energetically that makes this blip a little bit more like universal, I think. A little bit more of a universal blip with like weird, just like weird happenings like that. Yeah, it's fine. It's not going to happen again. The problem is solved, but I did not like that. I'm getting something, this is super random, but I'm being reminded of my dream from last night. And I did see police lights in it, so please be careful. If you found this message and you're choosing to listen to me today, just be careful on the roads, okay? And don't get pulled over. Be safe out there. And then another part of my dream was being in a circle with two other women. And I have a really strong feeling that they might be people who have found the channel. So I'm going to describe them a little bit, but they felt like women who I either used to know in a past life or will meet in the future. And one of them was very tall and thin, and she was bald and beautiful. And I think that she was like Somalian or of Somalian descent. She had Somalian features. And then the other woman was... That woman was probably like 6 feet tall. She was quite tall. The other woman was probably like 5'5", of like Northern American white woman descent, and she was probably in her late 50s. The other woman was probably 39. I get the sense that she is 39. If you're 39 and you fit the description, send me an email, because you were in my dream. The three of us were standing there, and this could just be some archetypal thing, but you know what they say is that you can't dream of somebody who doesn't exist. Like it could be that you picked up some information about a person subconsciously just by glancing their face at a public area. And then the psyche brings it back as like filler material later to supplement the dream in some way. But we were standing with our palms out like that in something of a triangle together, talking about the way that the energy was moving from the sky, the heavens really, into the center of our like triangle. And then all of it, there was like a current basically of that energy that we were just like sharing in. There was some, I don't know what it was, grid point, some earth point. That's where we were. It was a big, lots of grass, and it was sort of like a humped hill, not like a hill, but we were at the summit of something kind of, but grassy. It was very steep. And this is very detailed, talking about how the energy felt moving like from our palms, and our palms weren't touching each other, but it was like something of a current. It was very interesting because that part of the dream was very brief. It was almost like it was a future memory, future insight or past life memory, because I could hear myself talking, you know, and I wasn't viewing. I was there and we were doing it in a different timeline, instead of how sometimes it feels to view in dreams from a more passive perspective. So I do think that there's a lot of really special messages coming through dreams right now. I'm getting vignettes. So the dreams it's like so many dreams per night. I think that other people will be finding that as well. And then I had another type of, it was it felt like some big epiphany, but it's pretty simple when you think about it. But my angels were, or a few of my guides were all conversing. So I wasn't really channeling. I was very quiet. I was just sitting with myself, and I wasn't in like a receiving mode. But honestly, I just hear a lot of things a lot of the time, or get ideas, right? If it's, I don't know, people know how that goes, I would imagine. But I was chilling, just kind of listening, right? And hearing information about highest timelines and timeline potentials and timeline splits and the energy of the earth right now, and like parallel realities and stuff. And what they said, what they were saying is like the highest timeline is really just the embodiment of meeting your potential as a human, continuing to delve into what it means to understand your own personal potential and define that for yourself, and then continue to rise into it. And so it was an interesting interpretation for me, because if you think about that, that's a process of continual, never-ending refinement that encounters some type of resistance, because it's always going to a new level. It's always being asked to expand through rising into these different levels of potential. But the beautiful thing about it is that there's like this is funny, I was seeing the Alaskan bullworm from SpongeBob, and it's like a tube just like plowing through the landscape. The energy of the intention, it's such a powerful force, and it goes forth and it like burrows through, so that as you rise into your highest timeline, or like continue to meet the boundaries of your potential, not like in like I'm like stressing myself out, going all overboard, but in the way that you were designed to at any given moment, in the comfortable way. I mean, the way that pushes the comfort zone, but even then we can only push the comfort zone, so much. We're humans. We require time and care, and when things are shifting really quickly, we need to recover and integrate, and we're doing a lot of that all at the same time right now. And so it was showing me how powerful people who are committing to themselves are right now, and also how it's just going to get better and better. It's going to feel like less and less work, and it's not as, I see and hear different like posts and stuff, just like social media spirituality. It's just like all this work and all this effort and signing up for this and doing that and all that, and that's great if you have people that you like to work with, or you want to do the courses and everything, and that's good. And I've said this before, but I'm not trying to be hypocritical, because I'll probably make those and sell those myself someday, and have participated in so many different kinds of paid retreats and workshops and fun things. Why not? It's great. It does engender community, and just being able to talk to people who don't think that you're crazy about whatever it is that they have an experience with too. I mean, I think about the woman that I did my quantum hypnotherapy healing session with, and I felt so incredibly seen and validated by her that it made me realize how regularly I'm not validated on any of the stuff that we were talking about. That's a little bit, more far out. It's a little bit harder for people to wrap their heads around. But she was like, "Oh yeah, my kids saw the spaceship too." I was like, I don't have to explain myself, and like, and carefully seek for ways to bond and create meaning between the two of us. So anyway, I mean, there is something that's just really beautiful and free and inevitable within your own version of your highest timeline. And you don't even have to define it that way. It's just this inevitability around people who have been on certain journeys. We're all coming out of certain, lots of people. I mean, all the people. People are at different points in their lives doing different things, like all over. Like we're all kind of arriving at different points right now. And so everybody's potentials, in the way that the world is changing and the way that they want to change as a result of that, that'll be so different per person. But it's all supported. It's all supported. It's supported the most, in fact, when it does come from that envision. It's basically belief in yourself. But it's through, like, I hate it when I say something like that, because it just takes it into this cliche thing. And what I was seeing was like these little closeted door. It's something that I wouldn't choose to translate into a vision, because it's not going to make sense. But belief in yourself is, it's like it's like taking a miracle drug. You know? I think that's why a lot of marketing works. I think a lot of products and stuff and humans are constantly receiving treatment and services and products and goods that's changing them, and the human reception to something always impacts the way that it actually affects the person. I think that that's true because of studies that have been done on placebo and nocebo and all the variables that go into what it is that's being consumed. Like if somebody has any reasonable doubt, like a trial, or if it's something that everybody, has. I don't know, now I'm getting all vague and stuff, so I'm going to try to pare back from that. But before I get into the cards, I just have a couple more things that I wanted to talk about. So I wanted to, actually, I'm a little scatterbrained today. And I have notes down here, so I'm not just spacing out. I'm actually reading through something. Okay, so this is an add-on from the message that I did in yesterday's reading, but I was talking about keeping things protected. There's a lot of mildly there's a lot of triggerable offenses out there right now, and I've been picking up on this, and it's been coming in stronger for a little while now, probably a month and a half or two. No, it's probably like 4 months at this point. Like it almost seems like we can be two perfectly fine people or perfectly reasonable interaction, but there's some like incompatibility, right? Or like misunderstanding or like just tiny upsets of different kinds. And I think it just has to do with fundamental, like there are certain people who are well, it's making me think about highly sensitive people. Like as that's defined, in psychology, it has to do with this is the interesting thing. We talk about spirituality, psychology, neurodivergence, and then disorders or mental health of different kinds. I think that it's all really part of the same conversation. I consider myself neurodivergent and a highly sensitive person. But there's a lot of Venn diagrams and stuff to this. So it's defined by being activated or having the brain be more highly activated at deeper levels with the same amount of stimuli that doesn't set other people off. I even liken it to like when I get stressed out or too stimulated by lights and stuff, just having the migraines, or maxing out with like social stuff and needing to retreat into a cave of darkness, just being really protective of my energy. So I think that the way that things have been changing in the collective throughout the past year, it feels like there are people who are in radically like never been in more different places energetically on Earth today, right? Like it's just becoming really overwhelming. So that's not really what I wanted to get into. So let me see if I can just bring it back for a sec. And if you're like, just get to the cards, that's why I clicked on this. I will in 1 sec. Don't go yet. I'll get there. Oh yeah, I was talking about keeping things like protected, right? Because even the people who you are used to relying on, like, and I'm not, your situation better than I do, right? And if you're like, well, they wouldn't do, don't start doubting something if you weren't before I said this, but if you're getting the sense, like if you're not getting the same kinds of validation or support or certain kind of, I don't know, maybe it's not even something, maybe you don't even know what's wrong, but something seems to be off within like dynamics or like just stuff, and you're noticing it because it is different, and you're like, well, how was it before? Like it's not like I can't even put my finger on what's wrong now, but I know that something is. I think that people who are really sensitive energetically, it goes back to the video that I recently tried to recirculate because I was talking about telepathy, and a lot of people who are sensitive or empathic, they tend to just justify other people's behavior because they do understand it and they feel the reasons why, going as deep as like energy readers being able, just everybody has different levels of understanding other people. And there's a lot of people who do not understand other people, but they are the people that think they understand the most right now, I think. And there's just there's a lot of strange volatility. And I guess I just wanted to put that out there again. It doesn't really uplift or like say anything to help, but I feel it a lot. I'm witnessing it in the lives of many people around me and in my own life. And it just makes me want to continue to be not hyper vigilant, not in fear, but very just like energetically responsible. Like I don't want to be in places where I don't think I can be and be, like nice and grounded and good. So I'll say no, just really being intentional with where we choose to be and who we choose to be around and what it is we're doing. I mean, I was with my friend at the mall earlier, and I haven't been to the mall in like the longest time, and that's not what we were going to do, but she had to return something, and the store that she had to return something at had this in it. It's Hilma F. Clint. I talk about her often. And this was Abercrombie and Fitch. I'm like, are you seriously selling this? How can I not have gotten this? But on the way back, we were like, oh, we could just stop and get a drink or get a bite to eat or something. And we both just kind of realized, like, we don't want to drink. We're not going to get drunk. We both have things to do in the morning. It's just more calories into our body. We love each other. We can just hang out and chat. We're going to save some money. We had no reason for it. And that's just insane because that's not how we were spending our time together, 2 years ago. Same exact vibe. It's just vibrating into different ways of being. And we're lucky when we can go through those processes with people, because a lot of the times you can't, take everybody with you. People change at different rates. Yeah, I'm not going to get into any of these messages. I really do think it's just better fit for the website. And if you've recently decided to watch these videos, then I do have a website, and I'm going to be talking about things that I don't feel are appropriate or necessarily just best handled on YouTube on my website. If you like conspiracy theories and rabbit holes and kind of like interrelated things and finding the patterns and noticing the similarities, and then also putting it into the context of like history and showing different, I love to make points about stuff, and it's a threefold thing on the website so far, where I'm going to be doing an American Dream one, just about how the American Dream was sold, kind of the narratives around that and history, and kind of taking us through where we've come from, where we've been, how it's still sort of happening, back to the Wild West theory. And then I'm going to do one on Barbie. Probably going to do one on Wicked here soon. Going to do one on Wicked. Wicked is going to be released soon, and you're just going to hear more and more about Ariana Grande leading up to it, because that's how publicity works, of course. And so it's just very interesting, like her relationship drama. People, I think a lot of people do know this, but a lot of people, like the masses out there, like just consuming content, they don't think about this. They're like, oh, now she's dating him and it's a scandal because he has a baby. It's like, be that as it may, perhaps that's really her personal life, but everything is timed just so obviously around bringing people's names back up at certain times. And don't even get me started yet on the good witch, bad witch thing and the whole thing. Witches in general, right? Wicked. I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to talk about it and see it. But yeah, then I have another one that I'm going to be completing that's all about programming. And when I say programming, I'm going to be talking about experiments that people don't necessarily know about, that are open to the public to read about, experiments that have been done, different information about the brain and the light spectrum, all sorts of stuff to help people understand that what you see is truly, done with intent. And I'm going to do it. I don't want to do it on YouTube. That's why I'm not doing it here. I'm doing it on the website, but Yeah. And if you have followed me for a while, you're like, shut up. You're not going to do that. You've been saying that since July. Just, I will actually at some point. The problem is I don't know when either. Whenever I make it happen. This is why I love passion projects, because the pressure's off and it's like, I mean, I really do care about it and I really do want to do it, because every time I do something like that, I'm like, there it all is. All the stuff that's just been in my mind forever. It all makes sense. And I thought it would. And again, it's not for everybody. I had the friend that I went to the mall with, she was looking at my website and she was saying, well, it's a ton of information. There's a bunch of stuff to it, right? You're trying to be marketable. I do have services. I will have a shop at some point to sell different kinds of things, but it's also like information based. I basically want the whole thing to be an homage to the Tumblr age of like 2010 to 2012 era, because a lot of millennial girls, who I know at least, that was a better time for the internet. We all loved Tumblr. It was fun, just like posting things and scrolling through and having like inspirational galleries. It's sort of modern day Pinterest, but anyway. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to start with one of the Ascended Masters and then get into a spread, and then I'm going to clarify it. So thank you for bearing with me. I really do feel, let me just say this too. I thought this reading was going to be, I know I haven't even started it yet, but I felt different before I sat down and I do my prayers and I connect with my guides, and then I get into reading mode, and then I usually continue to kind of like light incense and move things around, but I do that before I press record to get myself here into the space. And then I'm in the space, and then I start channeling, and I don't, today was different because I had some things that I wanted to talk about, but I always get sidecarred. It's better when I don't have things I want to talk about. And then I typically am in channel and I don't really remember what I've said after I'm done with the video. I mean, I do, but if I watch them again, then I hear things and I hear it means something completely different than what I thought I was saying, because of what I was, like, I skip parts sometimes. This is really strange. I will skip parts. If I'm trying to explain something and then I watch the video later, I'm like, I didn't even say it, but the sentence will still make sense. And so I've communicated something to my viewer and my brain didn't pick up on it. I didn't correct myself. I didn't understand, but that's how the message was meant to be. Because then I hear myself say it and I'm like, oh, and that's interesting. And that's part of it. And people who do channeled work and work with guidance and bring information through will understand that. But obviously that's not the point. I like to be able to be on the same page and transmit the stuff and keep up. But that's why creating the messages is good for me, because I learn a lot through doing it. So I was going to say that I typically get into that space and then I feel very grounded. But today, just talking about the fact that there's been this weird wormhole. It's a wormhole. I literally had a hole full of worms. And then when I was like, are you kidding me, universe? Like, because I said the wormhole thing. I was trying to describe the energy to somebody, and then I connected it to my literal wormhole. And it was just too much for me. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? Yeah, I just feel like it's a big increase in activations. And so getting some of these will help us understand what we need to kind of like lean into and think about right now based on whatever can be gleaned from collective weirdness. This will help if you are resonating with the feeling of collective weirdness, or if you have been going through your own wormhole. Melchizedek, higher learning. You have learned from experience. More inner study is now required to further progress. Okay. So this brings me back to the first message that I began with, talking about the highest timeline just being an unwavering, never-ending commitment to embodying potential and realizing that there is no ceiling with that. And through that, people who understand the multidimensionality and the potential of a human, or if you have certain, activations within you that help you tap into these things much more easily, you really are creating kind of like this new kind of human, we're bringing in new kind of energy. It's changing the human energy field. I mean, so interesting to think about this time in history. Like, it didn't have to be like this. It could be documented. We could be, seeing, this could be the big, wonderful thing that everybody's talking about instead of what everybody, Super Bowl. I don't know what people talk about, right? We talk about all of the horrible things in the world, and then we talk about all the things that we like and spend money on and nothing in between. It's like, what is everybody doing? Here's another thing. This is not going to be the most popular statement I've ever made, but there's just a huge, a lot of people in the world, regardless of how materialistic they are, because I understand, I know I'm very like anti a lot of stuff, but I understand the need for like commerce. And I'm hearing like one of my well-meaning like parents or uncles or people being like, well, like just trying to level with me because I can be a little crazy, and I do talk to lots of people about these things at the risk of being crazy because it is what it is. And I understand the need for certain things and being able to provide for yourself. And you're also just fully entitled to have your wealth and have earned that and enjoy it. But I think a lot of people in the world, especially in America, with the way that our culture, a lot of people will make it into like, and so the enjoyment of their life once they have all their money is all about family and like creating that. I think we see this a lot with the Kardashians because everything about them and their presence is branded. It's very, very branded. And so their thing is like, we're just the tightest knit group. Family, it's all about family. However, it's also about spending $250,000 on a toddler's birthday party and a balloon arch. Like, that's a donation right there to whoever you say we need to help support right now. You know what I mean? You're asking people who make $13 an hour, people who are struggling to do whatever it is that they're doing, bombarding people, just give $5 to the president's campaigns, the humanitarian crisis, all this, but don't forget to keep paying attention when Kylie Jenner is putting on her child's birthday party, and it's like people don't realize, like, that this is all the same money, right? This is all the same conversation, right? Why do we act like people, just because they love their families, are not being really selfish? I guess I just don't really understand that. And maybe we do understand that, but then it's like, well, but that's okay. Who knows, right? Or there's nothing that can be done about that. I genuinely, I wish, well, I don't want to urge people to do anything. I want to urge people to do what it is that they want to do, right? The good healer empowers somebody to go forth in their own way. And I have strong opinions, but just please know that as a disclaimer. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I can still give you information that can help you figure out what you like and want to do, or you can go find it somewhere else and it's not me, and that's fine too. But, oh, I lost that train of thought, so I guess it was supposed to go away. Have strong opinions, but I don't want to force my way on anybody, of course. Where was I going with that? I think I'm going to be talking about this later. I'm gonna bring it back just really quickly to the HSP thing. Okay, so highly sensitive people, though, if a child is qualified as highly sensitive, like in certain studies, those children at remarkably young ages will care more about like the well-being of a group or justice. Those concepts are harder to grasp for toddlers, for children. But they present early because children who are like that are naturally predisposed to be considering the well-being of people outside of themselves. And when you're a child like that, you become a child who naturally kind of counterbalances things, right, at the expense of yourself. And so a lot of highly gifted children, highly sensitive children, and in my belief, very psychically gifted children. Of course, we're not like quite there yet. We're still talking about it in different terms, but that's going to be a huge part of it. We just haven't learned to flesh it out yet and see what people can do. Like, I feel like there's just tons of people out there that have these gifts and they haven't been nurtured, and so they don't know what they can do. They themselves don't even know what they can do. And the people who are guided to figure out what they can do will be guided. I'm sorry, I have like a fur in my lipstick. Okay. So, yeah, more inner studied is now required to further progress. And sometimes I just want to add that people feel like it's grueling, right? Or, okay, here's an example too, like the spiritual journey being like a cult, right? And it's like a roller coaster and people are so much happier when they leave. Then it wasn't for you, or you weren't doing it right. You know, I find my peace here, and I will not be criticized for where I found my peace, because I don't harm other people. And so if people will post videos and they'll say like, it'll say like the dark truth about tarot, and the whole video is about how they never stopped, they were addicted to watching tarot videos or something, and or they paid money to do this whole thing, and it's all fake and false. That doesn't mean that every single person who engages with material and content like that has the same experience. And why are so many people focused on, maybe I'm being hypocritical right now by even doing it, but in general, I would like to think that I'm not, but why are we so focused on always talking about if something didn't work for us, or we got led down a path where we ended up developing like a problematic relationship to something, that's not how it's going to be for everybody else. And sometimes it seems like people need to tell other people to like, to warn them, or it's not the right way. We have a hard time navigating and knowing that things are good for us or not good for us, and that that's enough. And if you do resonate with spiritual ascension, then you know that it's not like those people talk about, like it's, they were in some type, I mean, I could talk about that all day and go into that and explain it, but I don't want to, nor do we need to. That's not why we're here. I think a lot of people can just are so desperately seeking for something, and I could say something and it could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, you know. I've also liked and watched certain people or podcasts or shows or read books, right? And then you go back and it resonates with you different. I mean, there's just so much to be said for that. But a person who thinks that, you know, where's my instant gratification? Like it's never ending, because this is your life. Like you're just becoming, you know, relax. You're in the present moment. It's never done. It never will be. Higher learning in this regard is a blessing. You're honored when you get to a plateau where you can see all you couldn't see how much you had access to learn and understand before, because you weren't even able to understand what's gotten you to be able to witness more information to be had. So there's these beautiful initiatory things happening in the collective where if anybody has any type of like feeling bogged down or like they're not doing well enough, you're breaking through to be able to open yourself up, and it's a victory, right? Or I also see somebody switching from an intermediary school into a higher school. You're the new kid again, right? You're at the beginning again. You graduate, you're the top dog, and then you're the baby. 8th grade to 9th grade or something. Senior year to college or something. And it's there, that's never going to end. These initiatory phases of creating a new way of being. For a lot of exciting reasons. I'm not going to go into that, but I think some people might know what I was starting to think about and get into. It's very cosmic. The Miriam, Sacred Vision. Choose to forgive in order to heal. See the light in all. Remember that love has no boundaries. Okay, so let's read from this. I'm getting moved to read from that one. The Miriam, which means the beloved, are twin flame angels who come as one. They are mirror images of each other. They are the angels who appeared to Mary Magdalene in the tomb of Jesus after his passing. These angels spoke directly to Mary and helped her move beyond her grief so that she was able to commune with Jesus once more. They can help us move beyond the cloud of grief too. They heal grievances of all kinds, including ones that have been created by religion or the idea that God does not love or accept us because of a mistake we once made. The Miriam help us remember that we don't need to ask God for forgiveness because he never condemned us in the first place. I do think that we can always ask for forgiveness. We can always ask for forgiveness, but you are held and seen in the love of the universe. And I think that this point for people who are strictly religious, they can see this as being very problematic, but it's one of those both and things. You're immediately forgiven, right? That's the notion of Jesus having died for our sins. I'm also getting a message about it never being, a lot of people, you are never too far gone. Nobody is, because we're all part of the same energetic force. So even the people that think they are, they're just taking a longer time to realize and remember that they're not, and that everything is forgiven within love. Choose to forgive in order to heal. A lot of that has to do with self-forgiveness. There's different stages of healing, but I tend to find that as I've moved through my life and my journey, I forgive different people, but more often than not, I have to come back and forgive myself. You know what I mean? Like I'm forgiving people, but when we get banged up or have hard things happen to us in life, and then we're walking through life with reactions and, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, whatever it is that you've been through and you've dealt with, but maybe you eventually find that you don't like how you are or who you've been. And so you have to forgive what happened that made you that way, but then you start having to forgive yourself for everything that you've done along the way. It's not just about, and this is why a lot of people who have been through trauma end up getting stuck in their victim stuff. I want to move on and start to kind of free up the energy. It's a hard energy to read through today. I feel like I'm in sort of a zany mood, so I hope people don't find it off-putting. I'm trying to keep it together. I like this for us. It does talk about grievances, and we did have some energy with Ten of Wands, Ten of Swords from yesterday. It's just really beautiful too, like the blue and the red. It's giving me just like water, fire, elemental, fire and ice energy. What's on the bottom of the deck to give us a third master? I don't know how to pronounce this. Cernunos? Yes, Cernunos. Life force. Express your driving passion. Sensual and sexual powers are increased. That's nice. Green energy for heart chakra as well. And I was in the woods today. I had just a beautiful day. I did multiple activities and I saw multiple people. And I haven't done that in a little while. I went on a big foresty hike with my dog and I was touching nature, looking at it, marveling at tiny little sprigs of grass like a little kid. Just like so important to do that. I was like 20 miles outside of the city and I haven't gotten that far away in a long time. And I was like, I needed this. And I had to cross a river and I had to like hug a tree because the water was freezing and I was gonna fall in if I didn't do it. My dog was like barking, cheering. My friend was like, you doing good? Good times. I'm not gonna read from that. We're gonna start getting some of the Prisma Visions Tarot here. And what I'd like to do is get a 3-card spread and then I'm gonna put these down and go right into the other deck. The 3-card spread is going to define the wormhole that I talked about. I do believe it's collective. I pray that you guys didn't have worms actually wormholing in your house. That was just me. But the funniness is very much collective because of everything that's going on. Here we go. Okay, let's see what it is. 2 of Swords. This is so interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, it's King of Swords. This is very interesting. So in this deck, The Six of Pentacles appears less as like a charitable exchange between like a wealthy benefactor, right? And it's two children. It's almost like Six of Cups energy. So we've got Six of Pentacles, and just see how they represent. They're twins as well. You see? They're matching just like the Miriam. And they have a pentacle, and they have their like oracle. I really like that. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles, which takes two and makes it three, which is super beautiful. And what I was just talking about, like being outside in the woods and just like staring at stuff. Like, I don't care. I don't walk in the woods. I'm sure just enjoying nature, you know, like you don't just have to walk. Sometimes you can just sit down for no reason and just stay there for a little bit. I'm in the mood to break every convention that ever was, just as an act of defiance. Like my friend was like, there's too many words on your website. I was like defensive. I was like, I'm doing it on purpose because it's ironic because everything is only short form and I'm the longest form. But obviously she was right and I should pare things back sometimes. So then our third card is the King of Swords. Ten of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles, and King of Swords. And the King of Swords card is a very funny type of situation with like the goslings, and he's wearing one of those like witch doctor masks with his sword, conjuring up some butterflies, you know? Perhaps it's food for the goslings or something, but for me, it's almost like a magician energy. He's got his own, or like an alchemical lab, right? His own thing. And now I'm seeing Dr. Frankenstein inside of his lab. So I think that the wormhole energy, as summarized by these cards, is like everybody is doing their own little alchemical thing right now. I think the least conscious people on earth, like the collective manifestation, is starting to pull in a really heavy way. And so there's other people that are starting to kind of come off of that mass. It's again showing me the Titanic breaking. A human, the human impact, right? Our power as conscious people is just like pretty great. It's pretty vast. It's pretty influential in a positive way. It's like holding space for all the reactive energies to stop combusting so much and to not combust oneself during that process. And so the more that we can pull energy in, the more that we can stand firm in that current, right? And so a good way to do that would be continuing to just bring ideas through, right? If you're speaking, even if you're alone talking to yourself, do so like loudly, you know, because you're amplifying the energy of thought. Or, I mean, you don't have to, but I just mean for intentions. If you're praying, I wouldn't do it silently or in your head or a little whisper. I would put it out there. And then other kinds of keeping the energy moving through, like just stretching and writing ideas down and donating old things. And I like to do kind of like money hack, money magic stuff with like keeping little dollar bills around. Even if it's not a lot of money, I always like to replenish them because it's the illusion of money always coming in, money always going out, keeping that active. There's a lot of, it's like a beautiful reclamation of the sacred space, but it's not the most sacred of spaces because there's a lot of connection taking place. So something about the wormhole, even if you had some weird stuff going on for the past like week and a half, I think that, what is this, a game? Okay. I don't know, like a rattle or something. It's some primitive thing that people would make with like a can with some beans inside. It's a shaker. Yeah. Kitty has been sitting with me the whole reading today, and she doesn't usually do that, so that's very special. And I also know that my energy is like in an intense space if the cat's always following me around, because they're very fifth dimensional entities, the kitty cats. So let's get the bottom of the deck. It's the Star. And we had the Star yesterday, and I was saying this isn't like, this is the big one. This is your wish that you wished on long ago. Sometimes we don't know that our hearts make wishes, but they do. But they do. There's a lot of beautiful things that I think people are going to be able to uncover very quickly, like have things happen that they would like to happen that they didn't even think about as being related to something else happening, but things will kind of, like these tendrils, right? There's going to be some type of connective quality where the blossoms end up, you know, being in the same vase, even though they grew separately. And that's really lovely. And that's a product of being in your power, focusing on yourself, and not the other message that's kind of sweet and on par with my energy today, I feel, is like, don't be afraid to be a little odd. He's doing some strange stuff. Like if you came upon a dude wearing a mask in a forest with a nest of geese and like a box of butterflies released in the middle, like waving his sword around, you might judge him a little bit. I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't. I've been personally caught in the forest hugging trees with my arms around them, listening to them. Yeah. In Vermont, it wasn't as uncommon to come upon a fellow person just like spending some time with the trees, or like I'd like to put my hands on them and they tell me things. I tend to have really deep, profound insights when I can actually physically touch my body to a tree somehow or another. And to be a normal person, that could look like leaning up against one as you're seated. Isaac Newton style with the apple. But let's get current energy, energy to embrace, energy to release. Okay, I thought I could do this, but I can't. I have to pee really badly, and I've been trying to just push through, but I'd like to keep going with the reading for a little bit longer, so I'm gonna pause so that I can do it, so that I can go to the bathroom, because I know I've got all this cat hair on me. All right, I'll be right back. Sorry. I know the video will just keep playing for you, but I have to like reground for a sec. So let's talk about this. Current energy is wisdom. Okay. It's the Hierophant card, and I'm just immediately taken back to the Melchizedek energy with higher learning. And again, it's like he's got an energy about him of like the studied. And there's something, I mean, you could have something going on with like pursuing some kind of higher learning, but I'm also just seeing it as this spiritual initiatory thing. So the energy to embrace is firm foundation, number 4. So 4 stable corners. 4 stable corners. But what's interesting is that this card has a triangle, right, at the base of the man's back. From foundation, it's the 4 of Pentacles card in the normal tarot, but it's a triangle, right, instead of a square. So I'm seeing this type of shape again, like collapsing and reforming itself, and our personal dynamism being part of our foundation, just being able to kind of like collapse and reform and take the shape that we need to, not because we're being fake or like chameleon, you know, and like doing whatever the situation needs of us in a way that's untrue, but because we're just that dynamic. We're just that capable of doing a lot of different things. And that's really cool because it's come from earlier phases of initiatory growth and self-reflection and learning. And so the higher learning and preparing to do more learning and take on, you know, more transitions, that's part of this foundation. And then spiritual strength is in the release position. And so the message that I feel with this one is that it has to do, I mean, this was a theme not so long ago, talking about having that higher self not be, it was when I drew the scales on the board, it was that day. The higher self not be something that you have to go, the same way I talk about the inner child, you shouldn't have to go retrieve them from their tantrum. You should be advocating for them as a healed adult, because that way you don't become reactive, right? It's the separation of the two that creates reactive, toxic adults who are not self-aware. And it's sort of like we're merging. If we're releasing this card, I think that we're really merging with a higher essence, right? Maybe not completely. Maybe it's more of like a beginning, getting better at accessing the intuition, but it will resonate differently with all the people who ever see this. But it's in the release position, and I'm going to clarify from the bottom here. Exactly. Ugh, I love this, and we haven't seen it from this deck in the longest time, but it's the High Priestess, okay? Intuition. Because we can trust ourselves, right? And this pairing, this situation. I love that. All right, I want to just work with the other tarot for a quick little bit. What's the hidden energy? That's the first thing I'm going to get. And then we're going to do biggest sticking point and incoming, okay? Sorry to be so, I mean, I should probably just learn and not do this anymore, but like just being like, I'm going to do this and this is what you can expect from me. And then I'm not the best at delivering what I say I'm going to deliver. But at the same time, nobody cares, I don't think. That's why it makes it even worse, because I should stop talking about it, but I can't. Whatever. I just thought that this video was going to be different than it has been. It's not a bad thing. The videos are always whatever they need to be. Okay, so the hidden energy is the Ten of Swords. What's the biggest obstacle? The Fool. What's the incoming? Four of Swords. I mean, yeah, it's... Give me the middle point between these two cards. It's the Wheel of Fortune. So I wanted to ask the question, for if endings over, you know, hidden energy, we're still not quite moved on from something, we're still not quite released of something, we're still not quite integrated with the ending of something. Because the biggest sticking point is taking this big leap of faith into a new beginning. And the whole energy of the Fool is that it's a new beginning. It could be, you know, an ace from one of the suits, but it's not. It's the Fool. That's a major arcana because it's the beginning of the whole journey. It's a big new beginning. It's all encompassing. Nothing has happened yet. And it requires sort of a Bilbo-esque, I'm going on an adventure attitude. And people who are in this position are nowhere near wanting to do that. So I was basically looking for a card to say, like, what's the card between these two? How are we going to get there, right? To the new beginning if we're having a hard time moving on. And it's like, we let the wheel turn. So it's really not within your hands right now. If you're having a hard time making a transition or you're wanting things to move on a different timetable, if you're frustrated with how something's going for the specific reason that you think it should be like further along, or you feel like maybe perhaps even with the Hierophant before, you applied for something, a program or a school or something, or a residency or something, and you didn't get in. So it feels like, you know, defeat. And then how do you go to the new beginning because you didn't get in to do the new start? Time will tell, right? That wasn't your new beginning. That wasn't your new beginning. That was a pinball machine point to hit you into a different direction. And then when we start to kind of spiral, then we take ourselves into an even different direction instead of surrendering to that kind of motion within our lives. It's like, I want to say, respect the Wheel of Fortune. Respect her. Respect him. Respect it. The Wheel of Fortune. And then incoming energy, let's shuffle a card out to clarify the Four of Swords, because this has just been bumping around now from different placements. It's been in current, it's been in energy to release, I think, the other day. So we're clarifying incoming energy as Four of Swords, but I would like to cut the deck to say what's going to help. What's going to help? Because it can be hard to not have control in our lives. We often don't. If you think that you've got it all figured out, you don't. I mean, you probably do, but you know what I mean as far as like the timing of things. So what's going to help? It's Queen of Pentacles, and underneath that is Justice. And underneath that is Two of Cups, okay? So karma being restored, and that could, unfortunately, we don't like to hear this, but it could have to do with ourselves too, right? And learning. And I mean, major or minor, but like perhaps we did kind of, I don't know, not fully proofread the application and made a couple errors. Then that would be on us to correct. And the universe has just given us the time, or the time was always going to be taken, right? Like there's something around illusions with missed time, not doing things the right way. That's all illusion. That's all illusion. That takes you out of oh. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. That takes you, now like so much is happening now. The Magician, Justice, Three of Pentacles, collaboration energy, the Magician manifesting, Justice, the scales being leveled. And we have a balanced pair of Pentacles, King and Queen of Pentacles. When you're constantly in a reactive state to things, saying like, well, this is how it went, so this is how it is, instead of accepting, you're not in denial, you're not delusional. However, there's a reason why the whole Delulu thing is trending right now. I'm not going to go into that. And then the Two of Cups though, right? So this could just be, it just with a male and female counterpart energy here, again, with like harmony, balance within yourself, balancing out your ability to be soft and feminine and like receive things and not have to force, and know that, like what I talked about at the beginning of the reading with the Alaskan bullworm, just like tunneling through the earth. Know that the forces that are conspiring on your behalf, which is just like good, just the good side, love, universal love force energy. Because I kind of had like a head scratchy feeling when I left that comment there in the open air, as if someone was saying like, what forces? What are you talking about? I don't think that people really feel that way, but if somebody were to say that, it's up to you. That's why I love this deck and having this deck, is that it's like there are so many different energies to call in to support you in your journey. But you don't have to be like that if you don't want to. You do have ancestors. Everyone does. And guardian angels. You're never alone. You're never alone. And we all realize that after we die. So I'd like to get a clarifier for this situation, because I'm seeing it as like, I mean, I said, what's going to help? What's going to help? Just remembering that there's so much that is changing. But when that happens, we can start to feel powerless, but we've never been more powerful. So don't forget that. And then connecting to the heart space to create just like your power and your understanding. Basically, it's like, how do you create a life that you won't regret? How do you create a day that you won't regret? A conversation that you won't regret? Something that you can be proud of, something that went well, something that you can always look back on, even if it was a hard conversation, but be proud and happy with the way that you handled yourself and not feel bogged down. You know, not that everything in life always has to be sunshine and roses, but you can handle hard things and do hard things without becoming undone. And feel better after too, like have hard conversations and walk away feeling good and having resolution, keeping the energy moving, taking things out of blame, because it's all connected to the heart, right? Resolving all the things through the heart space, knowing that you're, it's a meme I put on the meme gallery recently. It said it's like a life hack, having a clear conscience. When you know that you haven't been lying and cheating and stealing and backstabbing, when people come to you and have an issue, then you know that it's projection, because you haven't done any of those things. And people who have done, like, I don't even want to say this because I don't want to bring it up because I feel badly, but it's just a quick story. So when I had my migraine, I ordered some delivery. I ordered cans of soup and a pint of ice cream. I think that was it. But my delivery driver called me and she said, you put a note on it that says like up the stairs, leave at the door, up the stairs. Yeah, I have like an injured foot, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like get up and go leave it at the top of the stairs. So I can bring it back to the warehouse and leave it there if you want to come get it. Or I can leave it at the bottom of your stairs. And I was like in my bed with my migraine, like couldn't really see. I was like sweaty and shaky and unhappy, and I was pissed actually, but I tried to be understanding. I was like, okay, well, I mean, if you're a delivery driver out doing delivery, the reason why I tip a delivery driver is to deliver it to my door. If I wanted to go out even a little bit, if I was capable of getting out of bed and even going out a little bit, I would just go get all of it myself. But I can't do that. So if you're telling me that you're injured and you can't bring it up to my doorstep, then please just call me when you're actually here and I'll come downstairs and meet you. I'll come downstairs and I'll meet you. I live up like 3 flights of stairs, 2 external flights and then 1 to get. It's just a lot and I couldn't even like move. I was just not in a good space, and then I was like, so I'm sick in bed. I just don't want to be like standing outside in the cold for longer than I need to. So call me when you're ready and I'll come out and get it if you can't come up my stairs. But just so you know, that's why I tipped you. I was pissed. And she got really, really apologetic. She was like, oh, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. And it's like, well, how could you have known? I don't need you to apologize. Just call me when you're here. I'll come get it. You have a broken foot, whatever. And I go down and I'm waiting, and then she pulls up, and I don't know if her foot was injured or not, but she had her baby in the back, and I think that's why she didn't want to get out. But like people just kind of like lie sometimes, you know, or they're lazy, or I did kind of smell bullshit on the whole thing, and I was irritated because if somebody checks the notes and it's like up all the stairs to the right, leave it at the door, and they're like, oh, stairs, you know, just being like, can I just not do it? Can I just leave it at the bottom? And I get it. I mean, maybe she can't afford like to have anybody care for the child, or the baby doesn't have anywhere to be, and so the baby has to come. But if you're a delivery driver, your job is to get out and stuff. Why am I talking about this? It had something to do with like dishonesty. Like, oh. And then when she pulled up, she was saying, oh, this isn't even that many stairs. I would have done it. I'm so sorry. And I was like, at this point, I don't want to hear that. Because now you're telling me that you assessed it ahead of time and just bailed on the idea conceptually. You didn't even pull up to see how many stairs we were talking. I had to drag my tired, like shaking ass with tears. I was not in a good space. She could tell too. She felt so bad. I didn't look well. And then she was trying to apologize, and I was like, can I just have it? So I can go back inside, please. Thank you so much. Enjoy the tip I gave you for walking out here myself. But like she did kind of feel bad. She even called after me and was like, I'm sorry about that miscommunication we had. And I was already halfway back up the stairs. I was like, okay, but was it a miscommunication, or are you realizing something about yourself right now? Because I think that you could have done something different there, and you just tried to, you know, fudge the situation. Like, oh, I'm going to pass on this one. Hey, is it cool if I don't? Like, I don't know. There's this kind of energy with like, sometimes people are so deeply entrenched in like survival tactics. Like we may not consider that a survival tactic, but you're finding a way to get and do what you want. And a lot of people do that in dishonest ways. It's not like sneaky lying only for kids. A lot of adults are just like that because they don't understand how to reckon with the full truth. It's like a cognitive dissonance thing. And so when I encounter people like that, not to be malicious, not to be mean, not to be a dick about anything, but like, I don't let people get away with that because and by that I'm not like, well, it's not like that. I just, if I don't understand what's happening or why they're doing something, I'll kind of try to like justice, right? We just saw the justice card, and it goes back to what I was talking about with, they're called overexcitabilities. There's metrics within highly sensitive people. If you get overexcited you can, a bunch of different ways, you know, visually or imaginatively, or even like sensually, there's different ways to be like highly stimulated. And it's, I don't know what to call it. Just being able to, like, the group dynamics, overexcitable brain activity within a group dynamic, it's not a selfish position because you see yourself as part of a connected web, and you understand that you're functioning as part of a group or a whole. And it's ego primitivism in some ways, but yeah, I think that there's just a lot of group learning taking place around what it means to be selfless and how we don't lose anything. A lot of people think that they have something to lose, so they have something to protect, and so you have to, like, it's a dog eat dog world. There's truth in that, but we have a lot more to gain than not being that way, and just being kind to people in public and stuff. So yeah, I mean, this just continues to be a stranger and stranger message, but I didn't clarify release Four of Swords, so I'm going to now. I just said what's going to help, and then I went on that whole thing. So clarify Four of Swords, please. All right. So Four of Swords was incoming, okay? And it's clarified by the Four of Cups. So I really like this for a few reasons, but the first one is that we have Four of Cups, Four of Swords, and the Four card, Four of Pentacles, firm foundation, 444. It's like this rest, this healing. Even if you do witness yourself being a little bit avoidant, if you know, like, I'm not going to lie to you, I do have some stuff that I know that I need to, like, just really just do it and be done with it. Like actual items and to-dos, but also just, you know, some things that, like, I'm continuing to work on not doing so much anymore. Because there can be some type of, like, it's a stillness, but it can be sort of like a not, like a maybe a subtlety of avoidance. But really with both of them here, Four of Swords, Four of Cups, it's more about just like a deep integration, as I said before, for the firm foundation, a deep integration and understanding that we can kind of put an end cap on a certain amount of quote unquote higher learning, ascension, understanding. And without being debilitated by the thought, we can know that we're on the beginning of a new level up, a new journey. And so there's some rest, right, taking place, or integrations and recalibrations, regardless of how physically restful this phase might appear. This is the energy that's coming in, right? Just like fortifying the firm foundation. And the other two cards that came out with that, Six of Wands, Page of Wands. So it's like, I like that because kind of takes it into this two-part incoming energy. This is the incoming energy because then we get to, let me add 1/3 card from the middle of the deck. And this one too, for some reason. Okay. Yeah, this is really beautiful. This is really beautiful because it's going to be a very redeeming type of victory sequence. And by that, I mean, you might be able to, maybe somebody specifically doubted you or caused problems for you, or who knows, they will get to see you succeed. Or say you couldn't help somebody once and they need your help, you can now. Or there's like this really big, beautiful full circle thing coming in. And also it's making me think about what I talked about yesterday with like the well and having a reservoir of untapped potential, you know, and like rising into this, the ability to know and recognize what a highest timeline would look and feel like, because it's, who do you want to be? What could it look like? You know, and the more you think about it, the better it can be thought of, and the better it gets. And when we tell ourselves why we can't be and have certain things, that's coming directly from the place within you that you need to give love to and heal. There's probably some twisties and some knots, right, to be unraveled. Nobody likes to sit down with a tangled chain and unknot it. But makes me think about some artwork I did, and I do not feel like editing this video. But if I do, well, I have to because I went to pee, so never mind. I don't know. I made some artwork about it, but I don't even want to talk about it to explain it, so I'm not going to put it on the screen. But we've got the artist again. We've got the Five of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, the Six of Wands. So it's triumphant victory and success and being able to kind of start out in a very empowered energy, and it's like of our own design. But with the Five of Pentacles, I'm feeling like it's taking things out of like the lurch, right? It's success that comes from this firm foundation. Success defined in a number of ways, but in particular, a way that brings us out in the cold, out from being in the cold. Clarify that. King of Pentacles. I'd like to get a card for current energy as the wisdom card. I'd like to clarify this, okay? So let's do that now. That kind of happened weird, but we're going to accept it. How did this happen? The King of Pentacles is right at the top again. Now, I just pulled this card off the deck. I just cut the deck, and then I shuffled, and I pulled the King of Pentacles right back off. Okay. All right. You guys, this is a strange message. It's not going to resonate with everybody, but the current energy is the Hierophant. I've been talking about this higher learning. I've been talking about coming into balance with the self. I mean, these are kind of ongoing themes for obvious reasons on a lot of different days. But in particular right now, something that we're dealing with has to do with like shame and regret and unworthiness in being, there's a prideful thing in this energy. I don't know if this is us or somebody that you're dealing with. Okay, so take it as it resonates or just discard it entirely as a message. But it has to do with, not being accepting of the perpetual student. Like if you're too prideful to learn, then you're not going to open yourself up to learn. So self-sabotage energy and regretful energy, because I mean, I think, and then Page of Cups, it's a funny thing going on here. Let me shuffle out a clarifier. Like we can't fully accept just how remarkable it is that we're a student of life, and we are always on our way to somewhere greater. You cannot lock in your perfect circumstances in life and like protect them at all costs out of fear. We have to let things be fluid, you know, and let things go that want to go, and let things come in that are coming towards us, and allow for the process of like manifestation and accomplishment to be very organic and far more fulfilling through that process, because it's not attempting to be controlled so much. And there's something in this message around the perception of like the self and like worthiness, really, but it's almost as if you need to step outside of yourself and see yourself really clearly for how remarkable you've been doing, really. I mean, comparatively. And it's I'm going to clarify before I say anything more. Yeah, I do want to take these. Yeah, persevering to stick to, you know, the heart, your inner child, right? Just being able to stick up for, and there's another version of the Six of Pentacles, so that is 6-6. And we already saw the Six of Pentacles. It's, and it comes after this, right? So I was saying like, and now we have 666 here. So there's just something really thorough taking place within the energy that doesn't always feel the most comfortable. But it's for the firm foundation, and it's for being able to alleviate ourselves and other people of not enoughness, because there is plenty. Scarcity is an illusion, and it's a highly perpetuated illusion. There's always stuff happening where it's like, I mean, just think about the whole toilet paper thing, just supply chain, resources. We are highly resourceful individuals, and the universe abundantly provides. And I know that that doesn't seem to sound very helpful to people when they're in certain dire circumstances, right? But the more you develop and strengthen the relationship and the knowing that that's true, the more you will be provided for without fail when you need it most, really. All right, I'm going to do just a clearing to conclude this reading because I'm feeling something about that Nine of Swords, Page of Cups combo. There's just some heaviness. I think we might have some strange dreams or little miscommunications. But after certain things happen, it's a funny energy. Because I think that the situation is that we're definitely feeling pretty good within our own stuff, but like something perhaps a little funny, like a little hiccup, will help you release some stuff, whether or not that takes place between you and another, or it's just a realization that you have that makes you feel kind of uncomfortable, or you didn't think about something a certain way before or something. But once that happens, it will release you. And you'll be able to move on a little bit more easily, again, from that Ten of Swords to the Fool card. So I hope that that makes sense. And again, that whole part maybe won't resonate for everybody. But yeah, there seems to be like a heaviness there. I think that the reason why I'm feeling that way is because that could be very intense. Like in somebody's individual personal situation, that could be very intense and hard right now. Or it could just be minor, and some people might not even have that. All right, so just a little grounding meditation. Thank you, angels, ancestors, saints, and guides, for clearing this space of any and all negativity. Thank you for surrounding me, my home, my pets, my body, my family, my loved ones in a white light of protection that shields them from interference and lower vibrational energies. Thank you for helping me now release any and all energy that does not belong to me to the universe, for the universe, to make it whole. Thank you for bringing in your healing assistive energies to help the people who may ever see this reading to release any energy that is not serving them from their bodies and their energy fields. Help them to move forward, free from whatever it is that's been holding them back as they ascend to a new level within their healing and on their journey. Please help them to move forward, free from obstacle, divinely supported and divinely blessed. Thank you for bringing in blessings and supportive energies to help the people who are listening to this channel to succeed in everything that it is they're trying to do and remain safe, protected, and grounded. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Thank you. All right. I'm going to just, that put me into a very relaxed space, so I'm going to go do a face mask and just completely zen out. And This is a weird one. I haven't done a weird reading like this in a while, and I really do hope that it helps somebody, and I hope that everybody's good. All right, bye.